The Shift Report with the Hood Mystic, where shift happens.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Little evening chill stream. It's the Hood Mystic here with the Shift Report, where shift happens. This week, I've been really following one transit, and this transit has come into full conjunction today. So I figured I'd talk about it. I found a video in relation to the particular energy, which would be Venus conjunct Neptune in the sign of sidereal Pisces. Today, Venus and Neptune will come into an exact conjunction. And so I just wanted to take some time to express my thoughts in pertaining to what Venus conjunct Neptune in the 12th house looks like associated with the moon and North Node being the supporting energies, helping us clarify what this energy specifically represents. And so, to simplify what this means, this transit means, is the term self actualization. So, when we think about self actualization, this is something that is very practical, very reasonable, something in reference to an individual that only they can do for themselves. So it pertains to a lot of the work that I do, right? To be self actualized. And to be self actualized is probably not going to be glitz and glamour. You might not ever walk down a red carpet. You might not ever be a household name, right? But when you are self actualized, very simply, you don't need anybody for anything. And not to say that you don't assist people, not to say that you're a loner or an introvert, but you know exactly who you are. And not only do you know exactly who you are, you're not dependent on people to like you and love you to sustain whatever lifestyle that you have made in reference to like siphoning people's energy. So what this actually looks like is people like tonight's conversation where they're going through this big upheaval and, all of this turmoil within the group. And really, it boils down to not being able to help people in the way that you think you're helping people. At the end of the day, you're just making a lot of money, but people then start to think of you as a solution, and that's where certain secrets get exposed, certain lies come to the surface. And so, with Venus conjunct Neptune, Neptune being in Pisces, a lot of the pandering energy is going to be exposed. Just in its full entirety, Neptune moving through this whole Piscean energy, there is a reality of if you care about humanity versus if you only care about yourself. And so you don't even have to be rich to be selfish. And that's where I think a lot of people make a mistake at is that they think they can be poor and selfish. And that is like, having a bunch of gasoline and then saying, you know what, I'm going to just smoke a cigarette. Like, you making the problem way worse when you don't even have shit and you're selfish. But ultimately, is quite understandable when a rich person is selfish and they experience a downfall, or if they're narcissistic, they experience a downfall, or any mental health, emotional disturbance creates the subsequent downfall. So, what is the topic of this conversation? Regulate in your mind and your emotions so you can begin to self actualize and understand the spiritual process. Because once again, the feelings and emotions that you feel, those conscious and unconscious, are illusionary and based upon the human life. When you are a spiritual being having a human experience, you have to be able to rise above that paradigm. You cannot rise above it when you are emotionally dysregulated. So I've came up with an analogy to explain what unregulated emotions look like in a normal sense. So let's just imagine a home with a door, and inside that home it's a monster. When you are emotionally regulated, you're not afraid to go open that door, deal with that monster, give that monster what it needs, or eliminate that monster, whatever it takes, right? But when you are emotionally dysregulated, you've never dealt with that monsters, and what you do is try to deal with the outside world. So in my profession, when I'm dealing with people, most of the time people are trying to get more subscribers, make more money online, you know, get their clout up, things of that nature. But when I tell them that that's not the way that it even happens, they look at me puzzled and confused. Because in order for you to be successful in a long term sense, you have to be authentic. When you pander, you might reach massive success in the short term, astronomical success in the short term, but all scams come to light because there is a time where a person needs to like feel that they're getting a fair share out of this deal, and when they're getting nothing, then you'll be the first person that they'll look at like, yo, this person is a piece of shit. So, and the reason that we want to really look at therapy and understand therapy is because Mars retrograding into Gemini does have a strong aspect to Venus, right? And it was in strong sextile to Venus. So, the work is understanding what do you need to let go, or what is illusionary in the way that you're positioning yourself through life. So, what this means is dead end jobs, dead end relationships, just you being a dead end person, like not having no hopes, no dreams, being depressed. You know, it's a lot of people that have mental health issues, but they never get the help, right? They never get the help, and they've had mental health issues for their whole lives. So this is exactly like a person having a broken leg and never getting a cast for that broken leg. What tends to happen is that that leg is going to grow deformed because it didn't get the proper healing. And a lot of people do not get the true healing because this system doesn't even speak to what it even ascribes to. Like, it knows what the problem is, right? Psychotherapy. Psycho representing the soul, the spirit, the breath, therapy, healing. So within all individuals, within the name, it knows what it's supposed to do, but you're never going to go to your therapist and they're going to say, we need to connect your consciousness to your soul because your soul can heal you. There's nothing that any therapist, any guru, any healer, any type of scam that you take part in is never going to amount to much because what is truly at risk, what's truly happening is that you are disconnected from your soul. And there is nobody here to really teach and tell you this actual fact. So Mars and Gemini is active towards therapy. Venus conjunct Neptune is realizing what illusions are you living in and living through. And the reality is, throughout this Venusian cycle, over the past 14 years, you've absorbed a lot of illusions. So, or, and not for everybody, for most of us, There's been a lot of illusions. So when Neptune goes into Pisces, that relationship that you thought was going to last forever, gotcha. That job you thought you was going to retire at, them niggas laid your ass off. You had plans moving into 2024. Every one's in the chat if your plans got completely upended in 2024. And it don't have to be negative. Because a lot of times when you get your plans upended, when illusions dissipate, the reality that you should move forward is the good thing. So this is like the silver lining to the dark cloud. But you know me, I guess to yapping. Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. Thank y'all for joining me. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you share to somebody who is emotionally dysregulated and say, I think this video can help you regulate your emotions because at a certain point, can't nobody do that for you. Yeah, you know, I would have never expected my life to be the way that it is today, but I'm so very grateful and fortunate and happy. Cause shit, you know what I'm saying? When you a lot of times you don't know what you're missing out on when you just don't know what you're missing out on. So I think that it's okay to change. When you look at Pluto in the first decan of Capricorn, that tarot card is the two of discs in the Crowley Tarot deck. That card is name change. When you look at the first decan of Taurus, because we're looking at the first decan of Taurus, Pisces, and Capricorn. These are the deacons that Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus are going to be stationed in as we go through this great awakening. So within this, Uranus into that first deacon of Taurus is talking about worry. So once again, this is the real work. When you talk about worry, you're talking about a strangulation. That is the etymology of worry, meaning that it cuts you off from the source when you worry. Why is worry correlated to strangulation? Because when you are disconnected from your soul, you're not even understanding all of the great that can take place. So when you think about what's going to shut you down, it is going to be the fear. It is going to be the inability to process this next phase because you are so bogged down by fear. And the reality is the thing that is happening is that there's going to be changes. Another thing that's going to be happening is that illusions are going to be ripped from your eyeballs. Like you going to be thinking like, "Oh, don't take that illusion away. It's gone. Boom. You can't go back." You know what I'm saying? There's no way you can go back to the illusion once you understand the truth. Right? So change, illusions going to be moving, and then from there, give me 1 second. And then from there we have worry. So once again, if you understand that things are going to change and change frightens you, change scares you, then it's like you're not going to be able to stop the ocean from oceaning. You're not going to stop the land from landing. You're going to have to integrate with the elements. You're going to have to deal with a level of intuition that is going to supersede what you've been normally doing. This is the reality. And a lot of times we have been going into this situation, Venus through all of the houses except the 12th house, right? We've been going through all of these situations with optimism. And optimism is cool and all, but then there's also another time where you have to reflect and say, oh, this is what I need to do. because we do have optimism, and I'm pro optimism, but I am the type of faith without works is dead type of person. So just looking at this particular chart and looking at this particular energy, look at what's happening in the planet, and looking at what's happening in this country. One of the things that we must not be so arrogant and so blind to do is not look at European countries. When we look at European countries such as Sweden that have 60 hotspots, what do I mean? There are 60 places in Sweden that the government and the cops just don't go to. And Sweden used to be one of the safest places in the world. So once again, this is the changes that we're dealing with. There is a difference in the way we understand the human condition in the Western world. That is going to have to bring us to an understanding that we cannot continuously live in this capitalistic way of living. So Uranus and Taurus, it has to incite change through worry. Because the illusion, Neptune and Pisces, that everything is okay does not help us give the millions of Arabian and African children, that Asian children that live and die in slavery, guys. Let's like, and you can like go to your job and be with your family and act like this shit is okay, but you would be like on Amazon getting shit from Sheen, got an iPhone, and slavery is why that shit is even the way that it is. Motherfucker got a whole wardrobe for $4 one time off of Sheen. If that's not slavery, then what is it? Look at the go Google the factories in Sheen. They sleep at their desk. They sleep at their desk for some leggings. So ultimately, you gotta understand that the way that technology have increased slavery in third world countries, and then we have this flux of immigrants, which are just depraved people, y'all. Depraved. So therefore, what this is absolutely going to do is create a space for us to initiate a universal basic income for all human beings. This is what this is creating. Or you give us the fake money and say that this family have a lot more fake money than you. Like we play a monopoly here. At what point do we stop playing the game and say, man, we got enough land and enough food and enough bodies that we can create a utopia if we just institute a universal basic income and bring the universal credit to zero? Because what are we doing with the debt ceiling? We can go 20 trillion in debt, but you can't have over $10,000 in debt, and now they won't even lease you a home. The government print money every day, and they $20 trillion in debt. Trillion. That's 999 billion 20 times. That's crazy amounts of fake cash. Okay, universal basic income. Here we come. Like this is where it makes sense. And I'm only saying this to say the worry part, the negative energy part is where we're going to have to begin to like figure out the solutions. Because there's so many people that's having problems. When you talk about India, when you talk about China, when you talk about parts of Australia, when you talk about the Fiji Islands in parts of Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, right? Congo, Brazil, all of these places, depraved people, third world countries. We are so fortunate to be Americans, to be on this soil, to be on this land. There's so much information in the soil, so much information into the soil that then we take for granted because we get caught up in the capitalistic corporate system of we need to get this fake fiat cash so we can hustle to pay our rent and all of these particular things. It takes us out of it completely. So what Venus does with this Neptunian energy is that it brings a level of gratitude and it brings a level of heart chakra awareness as to having the overall optimism to create the solution. So, this is a window, a glimpse into what things will be, but I'm imagining that there will be a lot of turmoil and a lot of tests and a lot of trials and tribulations to get humanity, which is over 9 billion people strong, to reach an equilibrium where we will be having the conversations about what is best for all peoples considered. And I'm a proponent that we are entering into that age of just intellectual reasoning because the system of haves and have nots is not going to work for the majority of people. So there will be a system change that is more related to the universal truth. And technology is actually the bridger of that gap. Once we get into the quantum computing, once we understand the cryptocurrency, and it's a lot of things that we're going to institute and we're going to be able to we're like it'll be a regular conversation to talk to your grandmother about Bitcoin or Solana or XRP and things of that nature in these next 9 years, and these smart contracts that you and your family will begin to set up that will be on the blockchain, and you'll be able to you know do things without a bank, whereas loans and property acquisition, these things will become exponentially easier, and it's all going to be due to this quote unquote dark period that many people have prophesied about, talked about, and a lot of people are fear about, preppers, bunkers, and things of that nature. And I suggest that you get on that bandwagon. I suggest you start thinking about a world without um, electronics and technology. I was, how would you source food if you couldn't go to the grocery store? These things are things that are within your DNA that your ancestors have done for generations. Therefore, they are the normal, right? This intermission that we've had, where these illusions of where we are and what's taking place, they tend to hit real hard when you don't have practical knowledge. And so personal development is much more than having a lot of money, which you don't realize until you spent a lot of your life trying to make the money. You got to then begin to understand how will you integrate with nature. And then a lot of people don't even have the sense to even understand that they're in a natural world, right? They don't even have the sense. So when the economy collapses and the matrix falls, and the Bible says it'll be in a twinkling of an eye, everything will be wiped away. People are going to break down because they really associate it with the matrix. In the reality, I've been trying to inform people in many different ways that we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. This human experience is finite, it will come and go. The truth of your overall reality is that it's very spiritual. So my downloads and my integrations have come to the calculation or the finite point that we have already transcended and ascended. We are now living in the integration of the spiritual and physical worlds. We just don't realize it yet. So the world is going to look very trippy on the outside. And to navigate this, we're going to have to practice electromagnetism, where we become the ultimate magnets to our overall reality. And if we don't know how to practice ritual, if we don't know how to do ritual under altered states of consciousness, psychedelics, alcohol, then we will have no electromagnetic force and we will be in the space of everybody else's chaos. So, in order to take away your own your own purpose out of this whole entire world requires a level of shadow work, requires a level of chakra work, and it requires a level of astrological mastery so you could begin to understand yourself in the world and know how to navigate these things. So throughout the year, I'll be, you know, every Sunday, not every Sunday, like I'm taking 2 weeks off and then I'm back to it with chakra work because this is the electromagnetism that the human race needs to actually exist in this three-dimensional world. All of these messages come to me in the form of spiritual transmissions that, in my 12th house, it's my duty to help people who need this science. Now, in reference to who needs it, I don't necessarily know. But when I get messages, when I get transmissions from the divine, I just simply act on them. And the message is very clear. This world is a spiritual dimension. We have all transitioned in a space of an asteroid, and that asteroid hit on December 21st, 2012. Everything else is just assimilation. That's why in 2020, in order to keep the simulation up, a lot of people, it's like I don't even know how to explain it in a way that's like super understandable. But like in order to keep the balance in tow, sometimes you have to speed up the process because a lot of times people were just kind of like holding on to the matrix, and we hold on to it because this is all we know and this is our actual foundation. But this nothing in this life is real. So whether you want to live to be 150 years old, be an AI tech nanobot, and live for 800 years old, it's possible now. All you have to do is make it to 2032. Because when we reach 2032, we will reach complete and utter singularity with artificial intelligence. And we will be able to ask artificial intelligence, hey, what do I need to do to live forever? And they will tell you, eat the goji bowl, they'll do your blood, see your blood type, check your DNA, and be like, oh, you just need to eat goji berries and you would just be eating goji berries for the rest. And this is hypothetical, but it's actually truth, right? And nothing that I'm saying is actually fake because I've been getting this spiritual transformation ever since 2007, right? Ray Kurzweil came through with the channel, right? Back in the day. Back in the day, he used to talk about artificial intelligence and it wasn't even nothing about it in real life. This man created his dad. His dad died. He recorded every memory that his dad could muster. He put it on recording tapes, put it into an AI computer. So whenever he want to talk to his dad fucking talk back to him type shit. That's the type of dude Ray Kurzweil is. Ray Kurzweil, the type of nigga be like, he taught me shit like I ain't never even knew. He's like, man, you gotta chew your food. You got a book. He be talking about some deep shit. Then he be like, yeah, really, you need to chew 100 times so the food can be broken down completely. Because if you don't break the food down completely, it be in your gut real crazy. And I was like, man, let me start chewing my food. This man is a master. But he was the one who said, if we can make it to 2030, this was in 2007. When none of this AI shit even, it was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine type shit. He said by the year 2030, we will reach the singularity. The singularity is when we become one with artificial intelligence and we live forever. That is just a deeper indication that none of us truly really exist. And we all have already transitioned. And we're just living in a dimension, in a realm that is like malleable, changeable. So you might see yourself in spaces that you ain't all okay with, but it's all initiation, it's all ritual. So the best thing you can do is not get caught up in what you're dealing with and get caught up in where you want to go. One's in the chat. Get caught up in the reality that you want to magnetize to yourself. Because Donald Trump is the president, and this nigga was a reality TV star. He was not a politician. That's when you knew this shit is fake. That's when you seen Donald Trump, you said, "Oh, it's Back to the Future. It's a movie." So the singularity is nearer is when we merge with AI. It's a nonfiction book by futurist Ray Kurzweil. It is a sequel to his 2005 bestseller, The Singularity is Near. This book was released on June 25th, 2024. So I read The Singularity is Near in 2005. I was on this shit. Like, and I was just like, okay, this is the dude that got me to wanting to take like supplements. Cause he take like 72 supplements a day type shit. He just trying to make it. Cause he know, for some reason he know. He predicted that artificial intelligence would reach human intelligence by 2029 and that people would merge with machines by 2045 in the event he calls the singularity. They already doing a Neuralink right now. And people will say, man, I ain't dealing with that Neuralink. But it's like, dog, you're not paralyzed. Goofy. Of course you're not going to use Neuralink. But imagine if you was paralyzed. You had Neuralink. These niggas is doing all types of shit with Neuralink. That shit is amazing. Niggas like, yeah, I don't fuck with that Neuralink. You uninformed. That's why. People in quadriplegics getting Neuralink and playing chess. You know what I'm saying? Controlling their whole reality, playing video games with their mind, nigga. That shit is amazing. I ain't fucking with Neuralink. I ain't getting it either. But at the same time, it ain't for human beings that don't need it. It's for people who can't have no control of their extremities and they want to have some form of control in this outer reality. Neuralink is a fucking genius invention that in this world we so desensitized to knowledge, we be like, oh yeah, I ain't fucking with that shit. That shit demonic. I ain't fucking with AI. But you got an online business, an e-commerce. You know how ignorant you is? You don't got no assistant. You don't got no fucking assistant. You got an online e-commerce brand, and you saying I don't fuck with AI because it's evil. That's probably the dumbest shit I've ever heard, and I'm the one that said it. So of course, people not going to utilize technology, but be on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook all day, talking about yeah. Niggas love telling you how they taking a social media break. It's like yeah, I would take a social media break too if I didn't study what it is I'm actually using. Or I'm using it without a purpose. I'm using it to play Candy Crush. Yeah, take a break. But you can actually build an empire with a technology. You could Your phone is a gateway to thousands, if not millions of dollars. Your phone, your computer. If you know how to utilize it, it's so much you can learn with this shit. And then utilize it and teach other people how to utilize it. And all I'm saying is it's a lot going on in this world right now for you to be negative. Are you going to learn about cryptocurrency? Are you going to learn about meme coins? Are you going to learn about the blockchain at all? You're not going to learn about it. Fine. It's, it's, it's 15 million people on Ethernet alone. 15 million people who use Ethernet, Ethereum, rather. 15 million. Is it any of your family and friends? All right. So before we get into this, let's bring up this definition because this is going to be our point of reference. Self actualization is the process of becoming the best version of yourself by pursuing personal growth, creativity, and self fulfillment. It is the highest level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, when we talk about psychotherapy, is it helping you reach self actualization? And then this makes me want to bring up what it's all about. Psychotherapy, also called talk therapy, refers to a variety of treatments that aim to help a person identify and change troubling emotions, thoughts, and behaviors. Most psychotherapy place one on one with a licensed mental health professional or with patients in a group setting. So we talk about one on one. So that one on one is Venus, sextile in Mars and Gemini, and Mars and Gemini, right? So it's one on one help, but now we have one on one help with the goddess, but the goddess is actually there, like really cares about you, right? The psychotherapist, at the end of the day, they're not going to help you without getting paid the fiat currency. They don't love you, they don't care about you. And if you try to contact them outside of business hours, they are calling the police. Okay, so when we talk about psychotherapy, psychotherapy is almost identically associated with medication. And this is the form of mental health treatment. But like I said earlier, when we're trying to figure out psychotherapy, we have to take it into two words: psycho, which comes from psychology, which is the study of the soul. So once again, you're a black person and you trying to get therapy or psychotherapy for somebody that don't even have a soul, ladies and gentlemen. Crash out, crash out, crash out kingdom, crash out to the millennium, right? We trying to get psychotherapy from people who don't even have a soul. So what is therapy? Therapy is the science of the medical treatment of disease. It is curing, healing, or a service done to the sick, waiting on, or service. So this is our sixth house, which plays opposite to our 12th house. So our sixth house and our 12th house is service to the collective. It is how we heal the collective. And this is, we all have the potential. The potential to heal is understanding Kundalini energy, which is activating our past life memory. So, in explaining Kundalini or the soul to my wife earlier, it is like you're in a relationship with somebody, but that person you're in a relationship with, they're just sleeping, right? They're right there. They're right there, but you never wake them up. So, in order to deal with your soul, you have to specifically wake up your soul and have that conversation the same way as your husband and your wife would have a conversation. You have to know the difference between your conscious mind speaking and your soul speaking. If you haven't done any Kundalini or chakra work, then you haven't actually treated this disease that many people are dealing with, such as being disconnected from their soul. And it, when you deal with Venus in this 12th house, it is about change. So the problem is when we're trying to have a spiritual change and we're trying to just meet people at an intellectual level, we're not dealing with the monster in the house. And a lot of times we think that we don't need to deal with the monster in the house because the person outside of the house looks so good and they speak well and they dress well and they sound well. But the soul is in the basement of the house. So in order to get to the soul, you can't climb up the chimney and be Santa Claus. You can't break through when the monster is up at all times. So you wake up in the middle of the night and you still having anxious thoughts, you still can't rest. You have to deal with your unregulated emotions to get to your soul. But many Western psychotherapists and Western medicine, they are obsessed with the physical and material world and know not of the soul because they haven't dealt with their own monsters. And even if they were going to deal with their own monsters, it is no telling that they even have a soul to begin with, right? This is not based upon race because it's a lot of black people who have not dealt with their emotions and they have not dealt with their soul either. So it is not a matter of race, it's a matter of principle and a matter of study and a matter of understanding. And it's a matter of witchcraft and a matter of psychedelics. But let's
With the
get into
intellect.
our
The
reaction.
intellect is very important because it helps us communicate.
Therapy kind of sucks when you're already an emotionally intelligent person and you're very good at self-discovery. Because, like, my mental health is horrible, but I know exactly why. So whenever I'm in therapy, which I'm like, yeah, I need therapy, and I talk to my therapist and I'm like, I'm feeling this way, which is probably because of this, so I should implement this. And she's like, yeah, that's...
You guys are doing therapy wrong. You guys are doing therapy incomplete. Like you.
So it starts off with a young lady, a Generation Z, where you seen a TikTok video, you seen a YouTube video, you read a blog, you went to WebMD, and you've compiled all of this data, and now you know exactly what's wrong with you. And when you deal and you get a reading or you go get a therapist, you're only confirming your bias. So when you are really trying to figure it out for yourself, it's not nothing that your mind can consciously conceive of. And even if you could consciously conceive of, you need to have a process of self reflection, of honest self reflection that allows you to begin to see things from a different perspective, or at least gives you the space to be clear on who you truly are. When you go into a person and you're trying to, like, more or less self diagnose legally or with a clinical professional, and then the person that's doing your therapy, we talking about psychotherapy, healing of the soul. You have to make sure that they even have a soul to even be able to relate, because it's a lot of money to be made on your ignorance. One's in the chat.
Think you're emotionally aware, but you're not. You're intellectually aware, but that is a very different animal than being emotionally aware. And believe me, I'm almost 46 right now, and for 45 years of my life, I was doing this incomplete therapy, and it's only in the past year. Okay? I'm middle aged now, so I've been in therapy almost all of my life since like I was a teenager. And
And you got to really start to think about people who go to therapy for 20 years and be deep with it. Once again, how many people wear a cast for 20 years on the broken leg? If the there and many people go to therapy for years and years and years and years because they're never trying to heal, and they're never even understanding what they're trying to heal. Because many people go past, like, it's right in front of you. Psychology. Psych is the soul. Psychology is the study of the soul. Now you have a whole institution, a whole college, from the administration to the professors to the students. None of y'all motherfuckers got souls. And y'all trying to study what? So you got people that's, you know, obviously trouble, going to a therapist for 20 years, mainly because they can afford it. Let's just bring that to the forefront. So people got the money just to get yapped to and to get prescribed Xanax and things of that nature too. But ultimately, you ain't going to need Xanax. You going to need a therapist when you understand the etymology and the true, real work that needs to be done. It just all seems like, yeah, words, 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 words. And that's intellectual understanding. The emotional understanding is something that I personally don't even know what your monster look like. I can assume because I've seen a lot of monsters in my life. I bring the shadow out of people. So people will be like, "Hey, Hood, you want to hang out?" Not really. I don't like really hanging out with monsters. You don't see your monster, but I see it very clearly. It's a way that you integrate your shadow, where you come across as authentic and you come across as healed, meaning you ready to go. You ready to do something. You ready to enjoy. You ready to just live the life that you have been given. It is an honor and a gift just to be breathing. When you look up psychology, it is the breath, it is the spirit, it is the soul. These are all amazing, wonderful things. So when you stressed out, you are not connected to your breath, your spirit, or your soul. That where we talk about Uranus in the first deacon of Taurus, where that worry energy exists. It exists because you don't even understand that you are breathing, you are animated, and you have wisdom. You have what I like to call internal guidance, meaning you know what you should be doing and where it comes from. A lot of us think we know what we should be doing because our moms and our dads and our friends and our family have inundated us and told us what they feel is right. But a lot of people just don't know shit, okay? So therefore, it is the blind leading the blind.
It's only in the past year that I was just like, wait a second. So this is what therapy is supposed to be like, and my healing has accelerated. But, it's because I found the right therapist. And I think most of us, what's happening is that we go to therapists who are also intellectually aware, but not emotionally aware. So it's like the blind leading the blind. You need to find the right therapist. Deep, authentic healing, which is what I think we want when we.
And I hate when people say this, bro. It's this. How am I going to find the right therapist? People say, I had a therapist, and it was a horrible experience. How am I going to find the right therapist and I don't even got no money? So, once again, if you got thousands of dollars to spend, go crazy. Find the right therapist. But if you don't got thousands of dollars to spend, it's important for you to do your due diligence on shadow work, chakra work, and understanding your chart so you can have an inner guidance system. So you're not following the crowd when you're trying to figure out what's best for you. That don't even make sense. And as easy as it is to say, you just gotta find the right therapist. That is the clearest example of easier said than done than I've ever even heard in my whole entire life.
Go to a therapist, it doesn't happen in the realm of the intellect. The intellect is very important because it helps us communicate and therefore commune with people like our therapist, because other people are not telepathic, they can't read our minds. But true authentic healing, it happens in the realm of our emotions, and our emotions are very, very tricky. Emotions are unreliable narrators in our life. Okay, there is absolutely no human on earth who is truly, I think, emotionally aware, because emotions are there to fulfill these agendas that, when we think about it, make.
And it's like I agree, but then it's like me. I've read Zachary Lansdowne, The Apocalypse of Saint John, and he goes in. more than one way of explaining that emotions are purely illusions. Period. No emotion is real. But when people say, nobody is emotionally aware, right? You also have to say, what does that even look like? What does that even sound like? That is observing your emotion and then not labeling your emotion as I am. So I am sad. Your mama didn't name you that. I am angry. Your mama didn't name you that, right? So you got to say, I am experiencing the emotion of anger, right? Now, then you say, look at that anger. Circle around that anger. Look at the back of that anger, the front of that anger, the side of that anger. Look through that anger. Touch that anger. You know what I'm saying? Make love to that anger, right? Start doing different things with that anger. Now that anger is not so palpable. And once you have separated yourself from that anger, it is no longer ruling your life. So what a lot of us do, we say, I am pissed off right now. And your mama didn't name you that. Your mama didn't name you pissed off.
Make absolutely no logical sense. And yet our emotions are there to protect us. And so the emotions then, being so crafty, they will start to pull in the intellect to justify these things. And so it's just a jumble of confusion. At the very core of what's driving most human beings is a core wound of shame. And shame, if you've seen Brené Brown's TED Talk, one of the most famous TED Talks ever, she does academic research on shame. Shame is the most destructive emotion in humans. More destructive than anger, more destructive than just ennui. Shame is extremely destructive. And shame, it's almost like walking through life completely blind and deaf, but then insisting that you can see and that you can hear. Fortunately, it turns out that our bodies, these animal bodies, they can be a far more reliable and honest feedback mechanism of what's really going on with our emotions. But guess what? Our intellect oftentimes just completely disregards the body. Okay? It's being hijacked and manipulated through the machinations of the emotions, and then it ignores the body. But the body is the one that's saying, hey, I literally am getting sick. Hey, I literally have an autoimmune disease. Hey, I literally am bedrotting. I literally am doing things, eating too much, drinking too much, whatever it is. Having behaviors, interfacing with the world in a way that doesn't feel very constructive to me, that I don't really want. And yet our intellect just completely like puts it down in the totem pole of like things to consider. It just puts it down.
So to me, that it sounds like a a big leap to to understanding what I'm doing versus my emotions, and then like so once again, if you're not under the understanding that emotions are illusions, then you're trying to develop machinations to understand your emotions. And that's like trying to understand an illusion. You can't understand an illusion. And I think the greatest trick to an illusion is to get you to understand how it works. Right. And then once you figure out how an illusion is an illusion, you see it like, boom, that's right there. So here we go. When you into Western medicine and we're talking about death, and we associate death with an emotion such as sadness, and then society okays this emotion, then we have to have another conversation, right? Why do New Orleans they have a party when someone dies? What's that about? Why in New Orleans when someone dies they have what is called a jazz funeral, which is considered more of a celebration of life than a somber mourning, featuring lively music, dancing in the street, and is often called a second line where anyone can join in to celebrate the deceased person's life. So I'm trying to figure out why, if we not born in New Orleans or die in New Orleans and we die in Oklahoma, Everybody's sad in Oklahoma, but in New Orleans, people happy. Why do Hindus honor reincarnation? Hindus honor reincarnation because they believe the soul is internal. Wait a second. Hindus believe the soul is internal, so their frame of reference is different than the Western frame of reference is. And so, what I'm saying is, if you were taught from an early age that the soul was eternal and that it continues to cycle through different lifetimes and new bodies, then you would then not even be tripping on this body. You would be tripping on the soul and the action. Like, so your soul, your body is just a vehicle for your soul, man. And you would have to actually think about that, and you couldn't be separated from that thought. Because once you separate it from that thought, then what? What are you left with? You're left with go trying to find the right therapist. Make sure you find the right therapist. Therapy is good, but make sure you find the right one because the right one can really help. Can I get therapy for free? Not really. We need about like $400 an hour. Make sure you find the right therapist. Scam.
Because we're not emotionally aware, we're emotionally manipulated by ourselves. This is why a good therapist is worth their weight in gold. Okay? And it's not because a therapist is the one that heals you. A therapist doesn't know more than you. A therapist doesn't tell you what to do. A therapist is not an authority figure. A therapist instead is a co regulator, if we're talking about polyvagal theory. They're coming into the space and being this witness. Okay, they're being like a compassionate witness to you figuring it out. But for them to be the right compassionate witness, they need to have also done the work. Okay, somebody who comes in with, I'm gonna use the word wisdom. Okay, wisdom because they have done the work. They are emotionally aware. Emotionally aware people, they're infectious. Okay, emotionally aware people who have also been professionally trained, they will infect you with a growing sense of like, wait a second, am I am I just fucking fooling myself, you know? Like, they will obviously, because humans are not telepathic, they will have to communicate intellectually with you.
How are humans not telepathic? It reminds me of like, so it's like a therapist and you go to a Freudian therapist and it's like, yeah, I'm getting all of this yap and mumbo jumbo, and then one day you go to an analytical psychologist under the Jungian school, and they're talking about the collective unconscious, where you have access to every thought that ever existed within your own meditations, within your own inner work. And it's so interesting how we live in a world where people believe things that may or may not be true. You know what I'm saying? And we got to actively position ourselves within our minds to think that we are thinking the right thing, because then if we are presented new information, we are challenged, we are shut down, or we dismiss because we paid $400 an hour for a therapist. You got to find the right therapist, right? So she mentioned polyvagal theory, and polyvagal theory is a theory that explains how the autonomic nervous system responds to internal and external clues. So the autonomic nervous system is reference to the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Okay, so when you're trying to understand chakras, you have to go about it through the parasympathetic system, which you find through rest and relaxation. However, Uranus and the first deacon of Taurus, when we are in our worry bag, we are in fight or flight, and we cannot even be present moving forward. So if we are dealing with the best therapist in the world and we are not understanding and overstanding rest and relaxation, then we are not even responsive to what's taking place. So This is what I try to communicate to people. Let's relax, let's rest, and allow these things to fly past us, fly over us, and get to a deeper sense of cognition within ourselves. You must raise the Kundalini within yourself. This is the work. You don't need to keep doing shit. You don't need to keep following different people, moving from this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing. You need to get in contact with who you are, and part of this is calming the fuck down.
But it's like a vibe thing. And this is what makes finding a therapist so difficult because to find somebody who has done the work and the healing, it's rare. Like just human beings who have done the work, it's just rare to begin with. But to find somebody who's also done the work and has gone through the professional qualifications and who's learned the best practices on how to communicate, that's even more rare. So the intersection, the Venn diagram of like the combination of that and the people who are qualified to do that, very small.
So why be a proponent of therapy then? I'm so lost. We are talking about inner work, and this is why I'm a proponent of shadow work, because you're gonna have to sit and journal. You can lie to me all day. We can talk about what you want to talk about. You feel me? You're not gonna tell your therapist shit that you don't want to talk about. But when it comes to yourself and you gonna lie to yourself, that's a whole deeper level of delusion. I perfectly understand if you don't want to tell me what happened between you and that boy. You a boy, you did some sexual stuff with another boy, and you trying to figure out why you and your wife relationship ain't working out. You don't want to talk about what happened. You was 16 in the bathroom. I understand why you don't want to talk to me about that shit. Cause I might chuckle a little bit, not a lot. Just this nigga, old soft ass boy. But I'm gonna just, you know what I'm saying? I'm not, I'm not even gonna lie to you and make you think that everybody is a safe space. Even if I can be understanding and compassionate like the next person, but that's not going to save you or help you. You actually need to do the work. You actually need to raise your own kundalini. You really need to take cues and promptings for yourself. So, yeah, I am going to laugh at you. Yeah, I am going to clown you. Because I ain't the one that's going to be able to heal you. If you think that hey, I do not deal with people that think that I can heal them. How about that? It's a lot of people that say, man, Hood don't ever even respond to my emails. You don't even be talking to me no more. Because you want me to heal you. I can't heal you. I'm not, you got to heal yourself. You got to be able to understand. You got to understand that the work is in raising your kundalini and getting closer to the God within, because it's not there in an egoic, arrogant disposition of everything that I think is right. That doesn't resonate with me. I don't agree with that. That's not where truth exists in. You think the truth is going to resonate with you is crazy. That's crazy to me. Because what if the truth don't resonate with you? You not gonna deal with it? Ah, that don't resonate with me, Hood. I don't even resonate with that. Okay, it's the truth though. Yeah, I don't resonate with it.
Not only that, good therapy, like authentic healing, it's a slow road. The medicalized model of healing that we have in the West, it tries to like make things shorten. It's like, oh, let's just do this quickly, return on investment. But the thing is, true authentic healing, it's a spiral. It's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. It's one of those things where I'm going to say that at least 6 months to a year. Slow, intense work, 6 months to a year, which in the economic model that we all exist in today, it just feels so like, oh my god, this is so fucking overwhelming. And I'm just talking about one type of modality of healing, which is one-on-one therapy done in a private room, which is like the modality that the West, especially health insurance, prefers. There's many different modalities to give you deep emotional healing, but in the West it seems like we prefer this healing with a therapist. Me personally, I do many modalities.
I mean, I think that. in general, we don't have any connection to source, and we would prefer any solution if it was a solution. But we haven't reached a solution because in the West, we are around trained professionals who are sent to treat the symptoms and not the cause. This is why hospitals can be overwhelmed with people because people are having the same symptoms and they treat the symptoms. And in order for a hospital to stay in business, you got to come back. So if psychotherapy is under Western medicine, I'm going to look at them the same way as I look at the people that give the diabetes medicines. The diabetes medicines have side effects to bring you back to the goddamn hospital. So when we trying to understand how we're going to move our energy forward, it can't be through the scope of Western medicine, right? We got to then begin to understand different forms of medicine and different forms of healing, because we do one of two things. We say none of this is real, and we just self-destruct completely, or it's like we going into, we go back to church, like we fully commit to the Western. A lot of people go back to it because they think like they was going to get into the spiritual community and they was going to find somebody that was going to heal them. And it's a lot of treacherous niggas in this motherfucking shit, bro. It's a lot of treacherous women in this shit. And the most treacherous of people is the people that you think are the good healers. Cause you imagine they gonna go inside of your body and awaken your kundalini. And they get rich off the thought alone. And at the end of the day, you don't see nothing, you don't see anything in reference to any type of spiritual self actualization. What I see is you become even more dependent on the actual quote unquote healer. And those people are not talking about raising Kundalini, activating your soul, communicating with your soul. Because just like a Western medical doctor, once you start talking to your soul, you don't need me no more. You don't need nobody no more. You don't need shit because you got your soul. You ain't broken. You ain't hurt. You ain't misdirected. You living the life that you're supposed to live. And that's when people hit me up like, yo, man, I'm in Bali. Me and the family moved to Bali. I feel like I did my job. See, when you as a healer versus a guru, and I need you to be aware of this, a guru positions themselves on top and disseminates down, right? They want you to reach their level and they say, you can do what I can do. You can get to this level. You can get yourself off your ass and reach this level. And I'm not that type of person. You're going to get way farther than me. Because this is what I'm doing. I'm healing people. I'm in the middle of the war, converting motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? That's what the priests do. The missionaries is the first people they send into war, y'all. When America took over the South America, missionaries played a vital role. What was the missionary role in colonization? A missionary often played a significant role in colonization by actively promoting cultural assimilation and conversion to Christianity among indigenous populations. I am a reverse missionary. I'm taking niggas away from Christianity, moving them into indigenous understandings, bringing them back into their ancestors, bringing them back into their DNA, ripping them out of that matrix. This is where I'm at. I'm pulling the plug. You can look on my goddamn YouTube page for the last 8 years. I've been unplugging niggas from the matrix. You supposed to go get you a motherfucking go to Bali, move to Chile, move to Brazil. You supposed to see the world. You supposed to make the money. I'ma be unplugging the matrix, right? Missionaries act as agents of cultural change and facilitating the political and economic control of colonial powers. We taking all of that back. The more we begin to understand, the more we begin to institute real change in the collective. This is why it's very important for us to learn, and it is important for us to activate our people. And how we activate our people is by the work is not in saving these niggas. The work is in teaching them how to save themselves. One's in the chat.
Of healing. And again, very slow healing, but it's like deep, authentic healing. And for me, these modalities include like group healing, communal healing, done with a spiritual slant, and also plant medicine, which has been utilized and honored by our ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years since the beginning of Homo sapien time to be a way to connect with not just our intellect, but something beyond our intellect, something that goes beyond even just our bodies as well. I'm
And this is what I'm saying to people all the time. Ritual, but ritual with psychedelics. Like once you into like once you get your you do your banishing, once you know like they gonna kick in 30, 45 minutes, get into, the meat and potatoes of your ritual. Right at the smack of that hour mark. Because what it's going to do is going to bypass your conscious mind. It's going to go straight to your DNA, straight to your spirit. You need this. You racking your fucking brain about conscious shit and you trying to solve problems. And it's like, all right, how you going to solve these problems? By thinking about it? Man, I done got smoke coming from out my ears. Man, it is so imperative that we move this whole world back to indigenous medicines. And part of indigenous medicines, especially in America, y'all, because that's another thing that the missionaries did. They seen the psilocybin and they outlawed it before cocaine. Nigga, they outlawed psilocybin in the 1700s. They outlawed cocaine in the 19th century, in the 1900s, 1920. In 1920, when they first came off the ships, they said, "Oh no, we not dealing with that plant medicine, outlawed." But they can do cocaine though. Let's put the cocaine in the Coca Cola. Yeah, that's fine. But anything but that damn psilocybin. Here it is, 20. Here it is, 2024. They deregulating it. They decriminalizing it because even the FDA, even the DEA knows that one of the most important things on getting our mental health back is psilocybin. All of the drugs that they've made, bro. What do they call psychoactive medicines? Nah, that's not what I'm looking for. The medicines that treat mental health. The psychotics or antidepressants, all of these particular things, the antidepressants, they don't even work. They don't even work. And so they got $1 billion industry trying to help and assist people. And look at these kids. Just using your eye test. Using your eye test. You mean to tell me that the kids in the 1990s is more adjusted than the kids in the 21st century? These kids ain't playing outside, ain't outside till the lights, the street lights come on. They not playing tag, hide and go get it. They playing house though, believe it or not. They figuring out a way to play house. They ain't gonna never stop playing house, unfortunately. They ain't gonna tell you. I was just casually listening to the conversation. My kids talk about, yeah, we about to play house. I'm like, oh no the hell y'all not. Some little girls in the neighborhood, they be playing house. Fuck all that. I already know what time that is. But anyways, these kids, they don't stand a chance. And then when they go get help, they gonna get force fed these antidepressants. They gonna get force fed these psychoactive drugs. And for what? Because man, it's just me talking on my YouTube channel. But at the end of the day, the fucked up part about the reality of the situation is that nobody is being taught about the study of their soul. They just getting force fed drugs. You done got a Xanax before you done got told about your soul. And that's the crazy part. In Vedic understanding, Hindu mythology, understanding the Kundalini, it is a dormant energy resting at the base of your soul. Dormant because you don't recognize it, but dormant because when you begin to do the work, it awakens to you and you begin to awaken to it. And that's what we're trying to accomplish through sex through self actualization. We're trying to accomplish it through sex as well, but that's probably another video.
I'm a professional, which it's literally my job to radically decondition, to do the most like extreme sorts of therapies, and to do everything that like is kind of cutting edge right now. That's not totally mainstream yet, but is going to be mainstream soon. So, this is like literally my job, and still, even though I have more experience and resources and stuff doing that, I still am just starting the work of this emotional, quote unquote, awareness, emotional healing. Which leads me to believe that the way that we see healing in the Western world is a very brainwashed definition of what healing is. Healing is actually something that has been commoditized, it's been capitalized, it's been medicalized for profit. And we don't even know that we see it that way. We don't see that the way that we talk about healing is actually the antithesis of healing. Healing doesn't have an agenda. Healing is just like the therapist that you want to find, it's a vibe. But in the world,
She said healing don't have an agenda. Healing is a vibe. What, lady? Healing is something that resonates with you, I'm imagining. And see, this is really the problem though. Like this is the problem that I'm actually talking about when I say if you don't have a soul, you going to the psychotherapist and you like, I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. And they like take this pill. And they like, all right, I'm taking a pill. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. All right, we need $400. Here go $400. All right, I'm still broken. I'm still hurt. What am I supposed to do? Psychology, study of the soul. Oh, okay, okay, okay. But what if I ain't got a soul? What am I supposed to study? Oh man. Once again, why do I hate black people so much? Because they got a soul. Ooh, did I say that out loud? Damn. Why black people been dealing with racism, sexism, redlining, slavery, Jim Crow? Why don't we tell black people their history? Yeah, we tell black people that they're the only people with souls, then the jig is up. We doing all of this false fucking flagging, acting like we got it all because we correlate our success to the material world. We have these institutions, we have these colleges, we have these schools, and we have these great halls of learning, but we don't got no motherfucking soul. Hey, epic fail, brothers. They got everything on the surface, but they ain't got no soul. So then we talk about psychology. It's like, goddamn, we ain't even making no headway. Well, maybe you would make a headway if you put black people in their righteous space. You know what I'm saying? You put melanin people in their righteous place. Listen, we need y'all to take over the psychology department. We acting like because we saying psychology is the study of the soul. We ain't got no soul, so we just be talking about we be on this bitch yapping about healing. We be yapping about healing. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't know shit about healing. Like none of us know nothing about healing. We just on this bitch yapping, man. We got all the money, we got all the clout, but we don't got no soul. But you know what I'm saying? Psychology is the study of the soul. So, matter of fact, man, just give me $400 an hour, man. I yap to your ass for a whole nother hour, man. Tell me what your problem is. Tell me what your solution is. I say that you're right. Drop that 400. Yeah, come back next week. Make sure you got 400 though.
World that we live in today, how many of us can just go based on a vibe, right? That's a privilege. A lot of, especially young people, I think that the way that you see being radical is very much like you want to be seen as being radical. You want the external world to see you as being radical. And I would really invite everybody to consider what is radical deconditioning. To me, that's the reason why I'm on this path of witchcraft, because witchcraft is a set of tools that helps a person radically decondition, which means not playing the same game anymore. You're not playing the same game as everybody else. And it takes a long time to even realize that you were playing the game and wait, what was this game even about? And along the way of this hero's journey, heroine's journey, yes, you will need allies. You will need people who are going to be able to hold space for you so that you can confront the thing that you need to do, but they can't do the journey for you. The way that we see ourselves and our therapists and all these other professionals, when you're still playing the game, you think that you're radical, but you're not. You think that you're healing, but you're not. You're just caught in the same game, and you're just doing the same shit different day. And you're like, why am I not healing? Because you're playing the same game. You're playing the same game. Having people who are further along the journey than you is a very, very helpful thing. My therapist further along the journey than me, but doesn't mean that she's actually going to do the work for me. Working with plant medicines, sitting with plant medicines, the plants are obviously way ahead of their journey than me, but the plants are not the ones doing the heavy lifting. They're just basically allies who are helping me co-create and commune with myself more, but I have to do the heavy lifting, and that takes time. That takes radical deconditioning. And that takes, first and foremost, the admittance that I am not emotionally aware. I am in the process of becoming more aware of myself, but to label myself as even close to being emotionally aware, no, that's a lie that my intellect tries to tell myself because I don't want to feel the shame of realizing that I don't know what the fuck is going on.
And that's a very key point that she's elucidating, because ultimately we don't know what it is we need to do until we give ourselves the permission to know. And that permission comes and that authority comes from exclusively from the soul. But we grow up in the West where the authority is Anglo-Saxon Caucasian people that do not have the luxury of the soul. So why would they create a civilization that exploits or points out the soul within the individual? That is counterintuitive to their power. So there is an illusion of power in this particular system that if we are successful in this matrix, We correlate that with the soul. And I'm not saying that you need to be poor, but it might your soul might want you to be a survivalist, like living in a tent or something like that, because it understands the true value of being one with nature. But your ego and your emotions say, I don't even want to be out in nature. There, because it is comfortable within that matrix. It's like Cypher in the Matrix. You know, like it's a lot of niggas, bro, in 2025 still eating steaks. But I'm like, if you love meat, bite a squirrel in the ass. Go hunting for a deer. Look at a cow and be like, oh, I gotta fucking eat that motherfucker right now and bite that nigga in the back. Arr! If you love meat, you know what I'm saying? Be like, yeah, man, gotta eat that steak for that protein. And be like, man, what the fuck is you even talking about? Who told you that? Where they get their information from? The cow got so much protein. Where did they get the protein from? Ugh. The protein is not inherent in the cow, bro. It's a specific thing. It's a chemical reaction to what it's eating. To which it is natural things you can eat. Beans, chickpeas that have as much protein as a piece of steak. I'm just saying. You love meat. Bite a squirrel in the ass, right? And don't be confused about why you so sad. Cause you part cow, nigga. The cow is sad. Part chicken. Chicken know it's about to die. It's all in. They talk about it. Have you ever seen a chicken coop? Them niggas is high level, intense yapping. Nigga, we about to die. We about to die. Bark, bark, bark. We about to die. We about to die. It's all in every piece of DNA that you eat. You absorb that, and niggas is not reaching their potential because they emotional. That part of that monster, part of shadow work, your first level of real shadow work is not to eat the meat. Last time I ate meat, it was lamb because I stopped eating beef. I stopped eating pork. I was like, all right, I just eat goat. I eat lamb because it's halal. Last time I ate the goddamn goat, the baby goat was crying down my throat. It's like, I'm swallowing the goat. The goat is crying while I'm swallowing. I said, oh, no, see, I won't be doing this again. Traumatic. If you knew every time you were swallowing negative energy, you wouldn't swallow it. It's just a mini rant, man. I could be just tired of niggas, man. It's 2025.
And while I come to the realization on my own that, wait a second, I don't know what's going on, and yet I'm curious to see where to step next to be more myself, I have the compassionate witnessing of my therapist who's been on this journey, who has done the work, to sit there and to give me almost like spiritual invisible vibes. By the way, my therapist is also a witch. Okay, so witch and like really deep into plant medicine as well. Who can sit with and give me that witnessing, which may be enough to inspire the alchemy.
Sheesh. High level sorcery, high level yappery, man. Check us out, ColumbianExchange.com. Chakra Nova 7/7 intensive starts February 16th. Make sure you reserve your seat. Those who took part in our last class, make sure you check out your link sheet that I sent out. You'll get 50% off this class. Those who are new to the organization, Chakra Balance 30, save 30% off. But this is where we're doing full transformation, full you gonna have to do the work yourself. You gonna have to have the realization yourself, but we will provide the framework, the structure, the knowledge. Um, Meet every Sunday and every Wednesday is optional. Class hours, but I'm thinking of might do a morning, like 2 hours on a Saturday and then 2 hours during the week just to break that thing up. But yeah, I'm growing in my ministry, and in that growth of ministry, I'm gonna need people to take part within that. So make sure you click the link in the description or just scan the QR code to take part in Chakra Nova 777 intensive. That's 7 chakras, 7 weeks, and 7 life changing meditations in reference to each chakra that brings about the awareness and connection to what's taking place around you, right? And then another thing that I got in the description is the chakra strength and weakness assessment. I've always wanted to know like what was my strongest chakra, what was my weakest chakra. So now I have a worksheet to help you. Very simple. It's not hard. It's not the Myers Briggs or nothing like that. Just some simple questions and then a simple form to help you identify what is your strong chakra, what is your weak chakra, and if you got all weak chakras, there will be a 30% off discount code so you can sign up for the Chakra Nova 77 intensive, because ultimately the person that's going to help you is going to be you, but you might not know how to help yourself. That's where the Chakra Nova Intensive comes in at. Want to thank everybody for their support. Appreciate everybody for locking in, tapping in with me on this edition of the Shift Report with the Hood Mystic, where shift happens, right? So we are shifting a collective over these next 9 years. We are pertaining and focusing on a major spiritual awakening in each and every one of us. But in that shift, in that awakening, we have to be very clear where it is coming from. It is coming from within. There is no special site, no retreat, you know, outside, a little microdose or a little psychedelic or whatever, to get you to that altered state of consciousness. That's basically all you need. You can be in a projects, you can be in a mansion, you can be in a forest, you can be in an apartment duplex, but ultimately, it's not where you at. It is who you are, and who you are is a spiritual being having a human experience. Hope y'all enjoyed the show. Hope y'all enjoyed the content as we continue to discuss real magical shit. I think this hat is on Colombian Exchange, if I'm not mistaken. That's where I got it from. We like to wear our own wares, create our own little feng shui when we in this matrix. Hate wearing labels and shit that other people wear, but and I got some real cool shit in the works as far as the clothes is looking. So just stay tuned for that. Appreciate everybody's support. See y'all in the next video. The Hood Mystic. It's been real. It's been a shift report where shift happens. Catch y'all on the flip side. Peace.
The Shift Report with the Hood Mystic, where shift happens.